episode of Spilling Tequila. I am your host, Ariana Cantor. We back, motherfuckers. That's why I started this. To spill all the fucking tea. Welcome back to another episode of Spilling Tequila. I'm your host, Ariana. Let's get on up into it. This episode will be coming out the last day of my 20s. The day before I enter my 30s. So obviously we have to talk about my 20s. Like, it's the last day I can talk about it. It's the last time I'm a part of the 20-year-old club, the 20s, the last time I'll be able to say I'm in my 20s. And ironically, I'm happy about that. Now, will there be one day later down the road where I want to go back to my 20s? Maybe. I don't know. I hear a lot of people say it, but right now, I feel fucking great about it. My 20s were, I want to say the word disaster, but I want to give like some more love to the experiences that I had. But I mean, I learned a lot. I trialed and errored the fuck out of it. I feel like that's what we all do. And I wouldn't want to stay in my 20s for the rest of my life. I don't know what people mean when they say that. I'm like, did you just hear someone else say that? And now you're repeating it? Because please explain to me why right now your 20s were so great. Let's start off with, when you're in your 20s, you don't have a lot of money. You are figuring out your career. The stress that you have from trying to figure out your career and thinking that you need to have it all together in itself, and then not having money to do all the things you want to do. And then, I mean, everyone is just like still drinking and partying because you're young, and everyone is saying this is the last time of your life you can do it, which is not true. So you're just in this like spiral of making whatever money you have from whatever career you have that you may not even like, and then spending it to go and party. And it's crazy. It is a whirlwind. Where was I in the beginning of my 20s? Okay. In the beginning of my 20s, I was nannying, and I was in a very toxic relationship. So yeah, I was nannying like 3 days a week and making not a lot of money. And then I got into a very toxic relationship, and I got into a whole different life. I was living in Manayunk while I was nannying. And then when I was dating my then boyfriend, that was in like Center City area. And we moved in together within like the first 3 to 5 months of dating. So then I moved into the city, and I wound up getting a job in the serving industry through one of his friends, bartending. And it was a whole new world. I went from nannying, living in Manayunk, to living in Center City and working in the restaurant industry, which honestly, I am so grateful for. That was my next step, because when you are in a big city, working in the restaurant industry is so lit. That is such a great way to go and make connections, have some fun, make quick money. Like, I loved that. That was the route that started my 20s. I didn't plan for it, but it just so happened to happen. And I met so many people from those years. And like even later in my 20s, I could still go out to so many places and know so many people. So I'm making my 20s sound great the way I'm starting it off. Trust me, it was a nightmare, because let's get back to the toxic relationship. I was in such a toxic relationship, like fucking brutal. And that's not what we're going to talk about this episode, but you need to understand the extent of it. So I was so insecure. Now, I don't know, because this is the route that my life went, if I would have been insecure in my 20s regardless, or I was super extra insecure because of this relationship. I think I would have been insecure regardless. I think a lot of people in their 20s are insecure, but I don't think that it helped that I was in this relationship. Once I got out of that relationship, whatever age that was, it was in my early 20s. We secretly dated for a while. Like, the story is ridiculous and we're not getting into it today. But I had to go years of being single to like rewrite all of those toxic patterns to make sure I didn't get in a relationship like that again. So I spent years of my 20s like not like single as fuck, not looking to date, insecure as fuck, and looking at people around me like, why does it look like some people it's easier for them to get into relationships? And I didn't realize at that time that just because people were in relationships doesn't mean that they were like successful and happy, especially in their 20s. There was a lot of people that felt just being in a relationship in your 20s made you more successful than someone that wasn't, or you were doing something right with your life because you were in a relationship. But in reality, I kind of think it's an avoidance from doing that work that you need to do. Now, if you're in a healthy relationship, you can do the work together. But if you're in an unhealthy relationship, especially in your 20s, you are avoiding so much work that you need to do to advance in life. But I definitely spent majority of my 20s insecure as fuck. I spent my, like, when it comes to friendships, the trial and error of friendships in my 20s. In the beginning of my 20s, had a lot of issues with like people that were like my very close friends. And I think I don't think I'll ever know exactly why, but I think it needed to happen. And I think there's a few reasons. I think me being in a toxic relationship probably wasn't healthy for my friendships. I think that we needed to grow in different directions. And even some of those relationships, you know, we were able to come back together later on, which is beautiful. And I just think there was a lot of lessons to be learned because I tried out so many, we'll say tried out. I like tried out so many different types of friendships, meeting new people throughout my 20s. And honestly, I feel like everyone was just so fucking lost because I did not make a lot of successful friendships. With that being said, it was also a lot of partying friendships. So I feel like me going through issues with like really good friends and then just going out and partying and finding like party friends, there was so many obstacles there because I went from having friends that like I knew were ride or die to having these friends that like could give a shit less about me. All they cared about is that like I was going to be going out with them. They didn't care about anything else. And that did not help with building my self-esteem. That truly made me so much more insecure. I'm like, great. Now, like, I'm in my 20s. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I'm going out and I'm partying, and I feel like alone with these friendships. Like, I don't feel like I have really great friends, and I know what it feels like to have really great friends. So what the fuck is going on? Now, what I'm explaining, like, totally, if it relates to a lot of people that are listening to this, then that is so reassuring in itself because that means that it's probably what your 20s are supposed to be like. Now, if I'm the only one that dealt with friendship issues in my 20s, then this is a unique situation, but I don't think that's the case. Now, let's get into dating. Dating. Oh my God. Dating in my 20s has just been so unsuccessful. I have had 2 serious relationships and a few others that like were kind of serious but never made it to boyfriend girlfriend level, but we were trying it out. Now, I have had so many failed situationships. I've had so many denials so many times where even if I didn't want to be single, I was stuck being single. It was so confusing. And I feel like a thought that constantly went through my mind was, am I undateable? Like, what's wrong with me? Just thinking so many different things, seeing other people in relationships, me not being one of them, me having a hard time even getting to see if I like the person. When it comes to dating, it is such a double standard for guys and girls in your 20s, because girls are told you need to find someone, settle down, biological clock is ticking. We've heard this so many times, but I'm going to go a little deeper into why. And then the guy is told, you're aging like fine wine, you're getting better with age. Don't settle, just have fun. And then we're in our 20s, and if we want to go and have fun, and this is honestly even before your 20s, like in college, in high school, if you want to be someone that's having fun and you are a female, then all of a sudden you're undateable. You've went and hooked up with too many guys and you are undateable. Now, if you're a guy, it doesn't even matter. So I feel like that was a whole weight put on me in my 20s of, if I wasn't in a relationship, not going and hooking up with people, or I would be undateable. So there was so much pressure in me to be like, okay, am I going out and having fun? But then there's so much shame if I go and do that. So I need to just go and stay single and be perfect and ready and prim and proper for the guy that I'm going to meet. And that led into so much more too, because then I thought, okay, well, do I need to date older? Because the guys in their 20s are too immature and this is their having fun stage. So do I go and find guys that are older, they've already had their fun, and they're ready to settle down? Let me tell you, I have dated so many different age groups. I've dated so many different age groups, and the older are not better. When people say that, I'm like, you're a liar, because no matter who the person is, no matter who the age is, they are who they are. People don't get to a certain, maybe some people do, but not everyone gets to a certain age and thinks, I want to settle down. I want to get into a relationship. There are people that want to date and there are people that don't want to date. And that is just across the board. And some people never grow out of that because it's not what they want. They want to just go and have fun forever, or they don't want to commit to anything. And then there's people that want to have fun, but want to commit if something's right. And I feel like that should be the set standard for dating. Like, we shouldn't worry about what we're doing when we're out of a relationship, who we are. We should never worry about who we are. But the set standard should be, do your thing and don't mess with people's emotions. And when you find someone you want to commit with them. That would save so many mental health issues, especially for females, because I really spent so much of my time in my 20s in distress. And then when I was in these like relationships that were serious, or becoming serious, and I realized it wasn't for me, I've spent so much time in them longer because I felt like my clock was ticking and I couldn't get out of it, because then I wouldn't find anyone else, which is so fucking crazy. I feel like 3 top main things in your life are romantic relationships, friendships, and your career. And throughout my 20s, I was so insecure in all 3 of those categories. But now, going into my 30s, I am by far the most confident I have ever been in my entire life, which is interesting. Like, I'm not worried about a biological clock ticking. I'm not worried about finding my partner. I'm not worried about my friendships. Even if I only have a few, I know I have a really good friendships and that I don't have a bunch of messy going out friendships. I'm just so not concerned. I feel more in control of my life than I ever have, more in control of myself, more at ease with whatever an outcome is. So why, when I was younger, was I more worried about all of these things than now when I'm older? That just doesn't make sense. I feel like we have been so lied to. And I wish people in their 20s, and especially in their early 20s, understood this more, because there is no need to rush if you're going to get older and feel like you're not in a rush. Like, there is just so much more time to like enjoy yourself, figure out who you are. And this is like really this is to everyone, but especially for the people that get stuck in situations. They get stuck in romantic relationships, friendships, careers that are actually diminishing their self-esteem and are making them insecure, and they start to get older and they never got out of these certain situations, so then they feel even more stuck in them. Because I feel like a really big learning lesson for me in all of these situations were when I left them. Like, I learned from every situation I left. I left so many situations in my 20s, some by choice, some by force, and once I left them, then I realized how bad it actually was for my mental health being in these situations. And I wouldn't have learned, grown, and became more confident and calm if I didn't leave these situations that I was not meant for. Also, in my 20s, I didn't take care of myself well. Like, I definitely didn't have all of the routines I have now to like take care of my mind, take care of my body. Like, it was a free for all. It was a fucking free for all. But with the hard situations that I dealt with and had to grow from in my 20s are what led me to taking care of my mind more, taking care of my body more, and learning so much more about myself, which now has me at a place where like I don't mind aging. I have a great skincare routine. I can go and get Botox. I have a great workout routine, and I do not care about aging. Like, there are so many people that are older and look incredible, and I will make sure that I am one of them. I feel like that's another thing too, is like we are in control of our lives. Even though in our 20s we can feel so out of control, we are in control. And we are in control of taking care of ourselves. We are in control of putting ourselves in healthy situations. We are in control of whatever the fuck we want to do, whoever we want to date, getting ourselves out of situations that aren't healthy. No one else is more in control of it than we are. And if we want to look good forever, we can make those choices. Now, are these choices easy? No. But who the fuck cares? They're worth it. I always say it's harder to stay in situations than do the hard work and get out of them. Now, that can apply to anything: your body, your mind, who you're dating, your career, whatever it is so much harder to stay in it than to get out of it. It's the fear that holds you back from getting out of it, and the fear like sucks and fucks with your mind. You are in control of your life. You should not be watching from the sidelines at other people's lives, wishing you had a part of their life when you're not controlling yours. Like, honestly, you need to stop feeling bad for yourself, because you could. Once I started to recognize that, like, we're all just fucking people in this world. There's no special people that were put on this planet that had an easier life than you. Like, there's just people that decide to do the work on themselves and align themselves to whatever they want to do, and then they'll quote unquote get lucky with doing what they want to do. Now, if you're not taking care of yourself and not aligning yourself with whatever you want to do in your life, the kind of relationships you want, the kind of friendships you want, where you want to live, how you want to look, how you want to feel, how the hell are you going to get it? You're not unlucky. You're just not you're not in alignment with whatever you want because you feel like you can't make a change in your life. I have been there. It still creeps up on me so many times. But throughout my 20s, I started to realize more and more that I was in control of creating better outcomes. Now, I would say this is in like the last 2 years. Like the last 2.5 years, I started to realize that more and more after a fucking almost whole decade of being insecure and not putting myself in the best situations. We live and we learn. I'm happy I figured it out. I'm happy I'm able to talk about it to people now and make people relate more, because if there is even only one person out there that feels this way, which I don't think that's the case. I think there's so many more, and they listen to this and they feel better about wanting more, or they just even relate in a little way, I'm winning on every single fucking level. And that shows me I'm not alone. It's a win-win. So now I am ending my 20s with so much knowledge, so many lessons, so many fucking crazy, crazy stories. I have lived so many lives in my 20s. Like sometimes I think about a certain situation and I'm like, how did I survive it? And that was me. That was like, how? Just, but you know what? I lived to tell the stories. I grew from them. I learned, and I still want life to be exciting. Life being exciting is not just made for your 20s, it is made forever. And the exciting things that happened in my 20s, I was so out of control. Now I can be more in control of the exciting things. That's even better. Like now I can go and do something exciting and it doesn't have to be like a lesson or a story, like something bad happens because I was just I was so out of control. And now I also, with like more security in myself, get to decide what I want more of in my life. I'm not just winging it, going out there, risking my goddamn life for a crazy night out, for whatever it is. This episode is not about the crazy stories. I keep getting flashbacks and I'm like, we're not going to talk about that today. There's not enough therapy in the world today to go and rehash that story and then have to deal with it. We'll save it for another time. This episode was meant for being happy, being so fucking happy, celebrating that I'm entering my 30s. I'm ready for whatever that means, whatever it has in store. And I love it. Like, goodbye, 20s. Good fucking bye. You were good for whatever you were good for. You've led me to this point. You've taught me the lessons. You've scared the shit out of me. But it's time to end this chapter. And I couldn't be more excited to see what this next decade has in store. So here it is. Here's the final farewell to the craziest decade of my life so far. You will not be missed, but I love you. And I love whoever listened to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Mwah, mwah, mwah.